Hey guys, this is Chef JoJo here with ECO, bringing you another episode of Shift Drink. And tonight, we're going to talk about Welcome to the Walk-In Cooler. What happens here, stays here. And as always, we're going to enjoy this topic over a drink. That's right, welcome to the walk-in. What happens here, stays here. And we thought this would be a lot of fun, this little subject for this episode of the Shift Drink. And if you have a moment, you can please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you already have, hit the little bell so you can get notified the next time we upload one of these. And you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter. Now, this episode kind of ties into a promotion we're doing right now where if you take a selfie of yourself, that's what a selfie is, in the walk-in, and you @tag Extreme Culinary at Instagram, you could win some of this awesome gear over here. Well, the reason why we started this and the reason why for the shirt is that there's all these stories and lore and all sorts of craziness of things that have happened in the walk-in. So I thought I'd share some of the things that I've heard about, and it should be a lot of fun. Now, we're going to start off in the beginning, and these are in no particular order, and they're not rated. I'm not David Letterman. I don't have a top 10 list, and I just wanted to kind of share these, so don't hold me accountable for that. But the first one I thought we'd talk about is when you walk into the cooler and you just scream. You drop a F-bomb or a mother, anything to kind of like alleviate the stress that you might be feeling that's happening during the day. Now, if you're going to scream in the cooler, the cool thing is that it's insulated and not a lot of people can hear you. It's like in space, no one can hear you scream. So it allows you to kind of vent a little bit. And if you're going to need to scream to let a little bit of tension off, sometimes you get screamed at while you're in the cooler about something you did. I used to work for a chef, and you would be like terrified when he'd be like, "Cooler, now!" And you'd be like, "Oh, crap, did I not FIFO? Did I not put something right? What's?" And then you're like, "Oh, I screwed something up." And he would just rip your face off in the cooler. I hate cooler chats. Sometimes they're not really what they're cracked up to be. And speaking of cooler chats, sometimes people will go into the cooler and have really in-depth conversations for a lengthy amount of time about their coworkers, where they just totally just trash them for like 35 minutes. The therapy sessions in the cooler are one of my favorites because usually what happens is that you walk into the cooler and then two people that are having the conversation stop talking. So then it makes you think, were they talking about me? It turns into this whole thing. And then you try to find the stuff that you needed. Anyway, the next one is like screaming at people all about taking the edge off. Well, what if that's just not good enough? Now, I didn't come up in the kitchens back in Anthony Bourdain's day or the Kitchen Confidential, but I did come up in the kitchens in the late 90s and 2000s, so they were still a little bit more like the Wild West. I think it might be taming down now, but there were the times when people would go into the walk-in cooler and there'd be a couple of beers in the back, because it was in a recipe or something like that, and they would just go get the couple of those drinks on so they could just mellow themselves out, take the edge off so they could finish the shift. Or they hooked up the bartender with a steak dinner or, an appetizer or something, a little extra food, and then they could go into the cooler at a certain time and they'd have a couple of drinks fixed for them over behind their little area. So they could sneak in there and get a couple of drinks and kind of work their way through. Which, I remember that. I don't understand it because I needed to concentrate to get through the shift. And then there's the guys that, you're busy taking the edge off. There's always those people that need to put the edge on so they can be hyper-focused and vigilant, right? So where else would you go to kind of add a little bit of edge? Maybe you just slip into the walk-in cooler, think that you're going to go get something and do a bump, There's always those. And, I think I left out the aluminum foil pipe for the guys that wanted to take the edge off for medicinal purposes. But most of the time that was done under the hood. I guess we could do our own episode of things under the hood. But I digress, or move forward, however you want to put it. How about you step into the cooler, and I know you've all heard the story, but you feel like you walked on the set of a Ron Jeremy film. People are in there doing things that should put them either A, in the bedroom, or make out alley, or make out Pleasant Point, or whatever you want to call it. I don't understand it because there's food in there, guys. It's in the Mile High Club. Why don't you get your butts out of there and drag it somewhere else? Just saying. Anyway, you guys, if I've left anything out on all that stuff, I know that you're going to let me know about it for sure. Now, as we kind of get back into the things that are a little more based on business, how about when you talk to your crew about what happened in the cooler? Like, hey guys, we organized the cooler this morning and I just went in there to check some things and it looks like a bomb went off. And no one, and I mean no one, owns up to it. They're like pointing at each other, like no one did it. We say that a lot at my house. You mean no one did it? It's just like at work. I tell you. Now, from no one destroying the cooler to how about you know that you put something in the cooler, it's wrapped and prepped, and you've given specific instructions, like a map to exactly where the product is, but no one can find it. You're like, hey, can you run into the cooler? We need that prep coleslaw. It's wrapped in a 6-pan. It's on the 3rd shelf to your right. It's right next to some chopped romaine lettuce in the bag. Do you see it? And they run into the cooler and they're like gone forever. They're like, man. And then you send somebody else and they all come out and they're like, we can't find it. And then you go walk into the cooler and it's exactly where you said it was. Now, I got to do a footnote or a side note, however you want to word it, because at home, my wife gives me specific instructions on where things are in the cabinets. I told you exactly where it was, and I can't find it. But I promise you, for some strange reason, I know where things are in the walk-in. It's just an unnatural knack that I have. Now, I'm not nearly as good as my previous boss, Ronnie. Ronnie, if you're out there and you see this one, I still don't know how you do it, but I promise you guys, we had like 14 or 15 coolers, and we'd walk all the coolers in the morning, and at the end of the night or the next day, we were like fixing to order something. He'd be like, no, you have 14 cases or 12 cases in X cooler. And you know what? He was right every time. Totally impressed by that. Now, how about FIFO? You know, and not just FIFO for your whole cooler, but like FIFO in sporadic moments. I think that's one of my pet peeves. It's like, first in, first out, it's killing me over here. You got all of these shelves. They're just dialed in. And then you like stopped, and then you started again over here. It's like everything is perfect except for this spot, like right here. There is just no normalcy to it. And you might think that it was messed up because of the shift, but this is like at the end of the night after you cleaned up. And you're like, you kind of missed this spot. Did you guys not see this? I mean, it is 4 walls, right? And I think I've covered everything but the most universal one that we all can probably relate to, because it happens, 15, 20 times a week. It's the time when you're charging into the cooler, and as soon as the door closes or you step foot on the floor, you have no idea why you're in the cooler. It's like as soon as you walk through the door, you're Men in Black and that little flashy thing just pops and you're just totally lost. You're like, what was I in here for? Am I in here for butter or buttermilk or cream? So you have to like pull yourself out of this fog, go back outside, take a look at what's on your prep board or on a list, and then go back in and to get it. Now, I think that's like everything I could possibly think of. I know there's some stuff I left out, and if you could comment or let me know if there's a story that I need to know about, I'd love to hear it from you. And if you could take the time, I'd greatly appreciate you to take the moment and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. So I greatly appreciate all your support. And as always, until next time, cheers.